From the earliest moments of your life, without your awareness, a seed was sown within you, the belief that you are not enough. This idea wasn't something you consciously accepted. It was instilled through subtle glances, sharp remarks, and unspoken comparisons. We are raised in a world that conditions us to view ourselves as flawed, broken, or lacking, something in need of fixing or hiding. The environment around us, schools, families, friends, and media all contribute to this invisible construction. Over time, you begin to internalize the notion that simply being yourself is somehow wrong. Alfred Adler, a pioneering thinker in psychology, recognized this harsh truth long before it became widely discussed. He realized that feelings of inferiority are not innate. They are shaped, born from constant comparison, unrealistic ideals, and the way failure is used not as a part of growth but as proof of worthlessness. You didn't come into this world hating yourself. You were conditioned to feel that way. And as long as you continue carrying that belief like it's your own, you remain shackled to a deception, one that you didn't create, but only you can break. Today, we will challenge that deception. We will peel back the illusions that convinced you you're small, incapable, or unworthy. Together, we'll step into Adler's insights, explore his understanding of the inferiority complex, and uncover the powerful remedy he proposed. This isn't about empty positivity. It's about a deep shift in the way you perceive yourself and your place in the world. This video is an invitation to stop battling against yourself and to begin standing by yourself. Because here's the truth, as long as you see yourself as less, the world will echo that back to you. But if you're ready to uncover the root of your pain and reclaim the strength that was always yours, stay with me. Let's expose the lie. Let's consciously rebuild your sense of self. In the early 20th century, Alfred Adler broke away from the deterministic views of traditional psychoanalysis and introduced one of the most profound and dangerous concepts in psychology, the inferiority complex. To Adler, the sense of not being good enough wasn't a personal defect or a rare issue. It was a fundamental part of being human. From childhood, every person confronts their smallness in a vast world. We're vulnerable, dependent, and limited. This early experience becomes the soil in which the inferiority complex can take root. When a child first realizes their limitations, it's normal to feel incomplete. But this isn't inherently negative. Adler believed this awareness could serve as a powerful drive, a motivator for improvement, ambition, and personal growth. It's this inner tension between who we are now and who we aspire to be that sparks our evolution. The danger comes when this natural urge is distorted. And this is where the real damage begins. If a child is repeatedly subjected to criticism, rejection, ridicule, and unreachable expectations, then that sense of inferiority stops motivating them. Instead, it turns into a deep wound, a painful belief that they are, by nature, not enough. It's no longer about the need to grow out, it becomes a conviction that something inside them is broken beyond repair. Often, families unknowingly contribute to this by demanding too much, by comparing siblings, by projecting their own failures onto their children. Phrases like, "Why can't you be more like your brother?" or "Oh, you never do anything right," plant these beliefs early and deeply. Even a quiet silence after failure can plant a destructive belief in a young mind. I'm not enough. I'm inadequate. Adler noted that this feeling doesn't just come from home, it's reinforced by the school system, where uniformity and constant comparison are the foundation. A person's uniqueness holds little value. What counts is how well they conform to rigid academic standards. Self-worth begins to be calculated not by kindness, creativity, or resilience, but by grades, achievements, and validation from others. And so, What should be a normal part of growing up, recognizing one's limits and striving to improve, mutates into a deep identity shaped by shame, fear, and self-doubt. The child doesn't just see their imperfections, they begin to believe they are those imperfections. They don't say, "I made a mistake." They say, "I am a mistake." Adler took this insight further. He discovered that once the inferiority complex is established, it creates a cycle that feeds on itself. The person who feels inadequate begins avoiding risks, undermining their own efforts, and hiding their insecurities at all costs. And in doing so, they reinforce the belief that they truly can't succeed. It becomes a cruel loop. Feeling inferior leads to avoidance, and avoidance deepens the sense of inferiority. The individual is reduced to a fearful shadow of what they might have become. But Adler did not believe this was a life sentence. To him, the origin of the complex also held the secret to breaking it. Realizing that this feeling of inferiority was learned and not an unchangeable truth is the first crack in the prison walls. So, before we move on, take a moment to look inward. What beliefs about yourself were passed down to you? What thoughts, planted in your young mind, still influence your fears, choices, and self-image? Now that you understand how the inferiority complex took root in your life, it's time to dig deeper. Because the world you live in doesn't just keep that feeling alive, it profits from it. If this message resonates with you, hit the subscribe button and support the channel. Thank you. If, as Adler showed, the inferiority complex begins in childhood, then society acts as the fuel that keeps it burning, sometimes so intensely it becomes an inner blaze. You must realize the world around you has no interest in your liberation. It needs your insecurity to keep functioning. From a young age, you were placed into systems designed to make you question your worth. School was the first testing ground for this, a place of continuous evaluation and comparison. Very early, you learned there was a hidden scale and your value would be judged by it. Grades, exams, sports scores, rankings, these became the measures of your importance. Your individuality, your quiet strengths, your uniqueness, all of it was reduced to charts and statistics. Every stumble, every win by someone else, whispered to you, "You're still not enough. There's always something missing." And that was just the beginning. The society around you was built to turn your insecurities into profit. The media, which could have been a window to a broader world, instead became a machine of impossible standards. Commercials, films, social platforms, all working tirelessly to convince you that there's a perfect image of success, of beauty, of happiness. And of course, that you are still far from reaching it. The goal isn't to inform or uplift. The goal is to spark longing. And longing is born from lack. Every post, every polished image, every advertisement is crafted to make you believe that in order to be valuable, to be noticed, to be loved, you must buy something, a product, a dream, a new persona. And then comes the marketplace, ravenous, ready to sell you the solution to the very emptiness it helped create. Feeling not good enough? Buy new clothes. Feeling unsure about yourself? Sign up for a personal success seminar. Feeling down? Change how you look. These companies aren't just selling things, they're selling hope. They sell you the dream that if you just buy what they offer, you'll finally feel accepted. But when that feeling doesn't come, and it never truly does, the cycle continues. More disappointment, more spending, more control. It's a quiet kind of manipulation, but it's powerful. Comparison has become normal. You're expected to constantly measure yourself. Social media makes this even worse. You don't just compare your body, your lifestyle, and your wins. You compare how you hurt, how you heal, and even how you survive tough times. Nothing feels personal anymore. Everything is turned into a show. even our connections with others get distorted. Relationships turn into quiet deals where people trade validation. You're valued only when you meet someone's idea of success. You're loved only when you play the role they want. The real you, the one with flaws, fears, and private pain, is often not welcome. Sometimes even you can't accept that part of yourself. Adler knew that while humans are naturally social, they are also easy to influence. When a society focuses only on surface-level success, on looks and fake happiness, it forces you to pretend. You wear a mask not just to hide from others, but to protect yourself from a world that punishes imperfection. And little by little, you're taught to believe you are less, not by accident, but by design. Not because you truly are, but because the system depends on that belief to survive. Now that you've seen how this all works, it's time to explore the real breakthrough Adler offered. Because contrary to what you've been taught, overcoming your sense of inferiority doesn't mean becoming better in the eyes of others. It means stepping out of the comparison game completely. And this is the bold idea we'll explore in the next part. While most psychologists of Adler's time focused on deep traumas, unconscious drives, and emotional chains, Adler took a very different path. He refused to believe that people were just victims of their past. He noticed something powerful, that humans have the ability to rise above their own pain. For Adler, feeling inferior wasn't a curse. It could actually be a hidden gift, a raw energy that, when understood and directed, could lead to greatness. He introduced the idea of compensation, a concept that's both challenging and powerful. He believed that when we feel lacking, it creates a strong urge to grow. A weak child can grow into a strong adult. A shy teenager can become a confident leader. Someone who has felt rejected can build deeper, more meaningful connections than someone who never faced hardship. But here's the part most people miss. This kind of transformation only happens when you face your sense of inferiority directly, when you acknowledge it without shame and use it as power, not as a prison. Still, Adler warned us, most people don't want to feel the pain of their own self-doubt. So they take a shortcut. They chase after fake superiority. They search for status, power, approval, trying to hide their wounds behind shiny images of success. But in doing that, they're not healing their real feelings of inadequacy. They're only patching up a false image of who they think they should be. Even when people reach success, they can still feel empty, scared of being seen for who they really are, and angry with themselves and the world. Adler challenged the common belief by saying it's not the feeling of inferiority that ruins you, it's how you respond to it. You can either stay stuck comparing yourself to others forever, or you can use your pain as the base for your strength. This choice, even if it feels invisible, is happening right now as you hear these words. But real change only begins when you let go of a harmful belief that has been pushed on you, the idea that you are broken and need to be fixed. If you keep believing this, every effort to change will just be another form of self-hate. In the next part, we'll face this lie head-on. We'll look at ourselves without fear and learn why you've never been a mistake and how Adler believed real power starts with accepting yourself completely. In a world that profits off your doubts, thinking you're flawed makes you an ideal customer, always chasing what's missing. But Adler saw something hard to face. You don't need to be repaired, you need to be understood. You need to wake up to what's already inside of you, not become some fake, polished version that society says is good enough. Since you were a kid, you've heard things like, be better, do more, meet expectations. These weren't just helpful tips, they were quiet, constant hits to your self-worth. Slowly, you stopped asking, who am I really? And started judging yourself only by what you lack, by how far you are from impossible standards. Adler said a healthy person isn't someone who erases all flaws. It's someone who accepts their weaknesses, their limits, and still creates something meaningful. It's someone who knows vulnerability isn't something to hide. It's the base of real strength. That self-growth only starts when it comes from self-respect, not self-rejection. You're not the failure they made you believe you are. You are the result of your fight, your quiet endurance, the days you kept going when it hurt the most. Every scar they tried to use against you actually hides your strength, but you have to break the cycle. Stop trying to be someone else. Stop living as if you're wrong for being you. Adler showed us that real greatness begins when we accept all parts of ourselves, the light and the dark. You don't need to change who you are. You need to stop believing the lie that who you are is never enough. And now that you see how powerful this shift can be, it's time for the next big step. How do you actually overcome the inferiority complex? How do you build confidence that isn't tied to what others think or how you compare? For Adler, healing the inferiority complex wasn't about saying fake positive phrases or covering pain with distractions. It's not about pretending your pain isn't real, and it's not about building a fake image based on shallow success. For Adler, real healing means completely changing how you see yourself and the world. And that change begins with one bold step: taking full responsibility for your life. The first thing you must do is stop living as a victim. You're not to blame for the wounds you carry, but you are in charge of how you deal with them now. Yes, you were hurt, but staying stuck in that pain is a decision you make every day, whether you realize it or not. Adler reminds us that as long as you blame your past or other people or life's unfairness, you stay powerless. Real strength begins when you say, "From this day forward, my life is my responsibility." The next step is to stop comparing yourself to others. The inferiority complex survives through constant comparison. It feeds on you always looking to the side, always wanting to be someone else. Healing starts when you stop playing that game, when you understand that there is no perfect version of who you should be, that your job is not to be better than others, but to feel whole in your own skin. Adler also offered a powerful idea: social connection. He said that we don't overcome feelings of inferiority by ourselves, but through real relationships. Not so people can approve of us, but so we can share a sense of meaning. Adler believed that true living means giving, participating, feeling like you matter in the world around you. When your life is about more than just proving your worth, the feeling of not being enough begins to fade, because now your focus is on what you can give, not what you lack. So healing takes 3 key steps: taking charge of your life, letting go of comparison, and finding a purpose beyond just getting praise or approval. But there's something even deeper you must understand. Just knowing this isn't enough. Real change needs something stronger, a complete shift inside you, a rebirth of who you believe yourself to be. And for that, you need courage. Courage to let go of the old version of yourself. Courage to face the silence that follows. Courage to rebuild your life from something solid, honest, uncheckable. And that's what we'll talk about next. Because this is not the end of the journey. This is the beginning. Get ready. You're about to face a truth that many people are afraid to hear. No one is coming to save you from the prison you've built inside yourself. No award, no praise, no attention will ever fill the emptiness left by believing you're not enough. This fight happens quietly, inside your own mind, without applause, without a spotlight, and it's a fight that only you can win. You were taught to feel small. You were trained to doubt yourself, to compare yourself, to feel less than others. But now you know something powerful. Anything you've learned, you can unlearn. Anything forced on you, you can let go. Your pain doesn't prove that you're broken. It proves that you survived a system that tried to break you. Adler didn't just give us a theory. He gave us a path to freedom. But a map won't take you anywhere unless you walk. You have to face the discomfort. You have to rebuild from the ground up, piece by piece. Not to become someone else, but to return to the person you were before you were taught to hate yourself. So now it's your decision. You can turn this off and go back to the same old story, the one that says you're not good enough, that you have to change who you are just to be accepted. Or how you can take your first step, break the chain, and start a new story. Tell me in the comments, what's the biggest lie you've believed about yourself? What false belief are you ready to destroy? Write it out. Because when you turn pain into words, it starts to lose the power to control you. And don't stop here. The next video is an important part of this journey. With each new step, with every old layer you remove, you move closer to the freedom that's been yours all along. I'll see you there.